Gravity,
Recording in progress.
gravity sucks.
Yeah, it works.
Physics sucks too.
It is 7 o'clock in the
Precision.
morning. Call the meeting to order. Are there any additions or deletions from the agenda?
Yes, we're seeking a motion to add backhoe bidding
Okay,
and delete sidewalk right-of-way motion, liquor licenses, and fire chief confirmation.
okay,
So I make a motion to add backhoe bidding and delete sidewalk,
ROW motion,
ROW motion, liquor licenses, and fire chief confirmation.
Yep. Second. Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Glenn to, add the backhoe bid to this agenda and delete sidewalk right-of-way motion with 4 liquor licenses, I guess that's what that says,
or just liquor license.
or liquor licenses and the, what was the other?
Fire chief.
Fire chief confirmation. It's down here in the separate spot, so. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, and Todd is not here tonight, so.
Minutes.
The next item is minutes of the previous meeting, and I will entertain a motion to approve.
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting as presented.
Second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Jamie to approve the minutes of the last meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
I'll abstain because I was not here.
Oh, okay, motion carries. All right, public comments. Is there anyone
A lot
on
of
the
working on
call?
the line and can't get in the room.
Okay, you have no comment, nothing, for public comments? All of each, do you have anything? You'll have to unmute yourself if you do.
Feel free to chime in as relevant.
All right. New business. We, have a form.
Let's do the backhoe thing.
Oh, let's do the backhoe first, because you have to call the auction.
No, we got a live,
We have.
Right there.
Live
It's right there.
One thing right there.
if we want to look at it.
So back in the summer when I sold, when the town sold the Yanmar, the talk was to buy something like this. I held off because I was thought that maybe for us it'd be better to get a bigger excavator. Now that, hopefully we're getting some ARPA funds toward a bigger excavator. I happen to find it, I've been looking at rubber tire backhoes. I found this, I've been watching it for a few days on Auctions International. It's a 2006 with less than 2,000 hours. 1,272 hours on it, so it's a low hour machine. It's a 2006, which means it puts it free emissions. So we don't have an exhaust filter that we have to have somebody, the dealer, come and mess with every 6 months, like I have had with the whacker Newsom lately. So this machine also comes with, there's pictures of it, a front bucket, a set of forks, and a broom. Or there's the broom,
There's the bucket.
and there's the bucket.
There's the bucket. Okay.
If we bought a set of forks for our loader, they're around $6,000. So I'm thinking this thing is pretty nice. It's an added machine like what we wanted. It gives us other options that we can use it for with the broom and the forks. The problem is there's only 1 hour and 15 minutes left to bid. So I need to know if the select board would let Nick make a bid so that we could try to purchase this machine. It's in Saratoga, so it's not that far away to get moved home. There's a 10% buyer's premium, or however you call that. So whatever our bid ends up being, 10% more, we'll have to go for the buyer's premium. Also on there, I think it's, I can we electronically pay?
Yeah, we can,
Okay,
we can arrange for that.
All right.
Via,
because it has to be paid for in so many days after,
Mhm.
like 5 days.
we can
or
arrange for
something
that with
Like
the,
that, after you win,
with
if we win the bid. So I need to know what, I guess in the next hour and 14 minutes, what your thoughts are.
if you're
on-
gonna do this, it would be not to exceed, and then you could say authorize a bid up to X. So $45,000 to keep, not to exceed a 50. Um,
Cynthia,
Could you refresh my mind about, the excavator we now have and what we are concentrating in that department?
I've been running it through my head 19 different ways, trying to figure out the most efficient way for the townspeople to have something bigger to put culverts in, take trees down, whatever. I've thought about a track machine to replace, and add that wood and keep our whacker,
But what is it that we have? You need to remind me.
what we have now.
Yes.
All we have right now is the Whacker Newsom excavator on tires.
It's on tires, and how big is it compared to this?
It's actually probably smaller than that.
It's smaller than this, so this is a
Exactly.
bigger.
But what this would do, it would enable us to load sand and salt in the wintertime if the loader breaks down like it did last year during the storm with the front bucket. And it also would enable us to have the backhoe. So if the whacker was down, which it was for a week and a half last week, so we'd still have the backhoe to run around if we needed to. God forbid we had a storm, we had to get something, the trees out of the road, whatever, culvert plugged up. And have something else that we could run around and,
So it's got not just the excavator, it's got the fork, it's got the bucket.
it has the loader on the front,
Front,
like,
yeah,
like a
right.
wheel loader.
And
It
the
has the
excavator
backhoe
on the
attachment
back.
on the back.
okay, and the brush and the forks and whatever.
Right.
And it's a little bit bigger than what we have.
Yes.
Okay, my problem with this is that I can see rust on some of it, and I think it's too old. Now, I'm willing to be convinced, but that would be my initial thought.
So everything that I found on Machinery Trader, which is a website that sells that, and
it's the
advertising.
world largest, like,
It's,
site.
and there's no warranty, we don't know anything about
No.
the real condition, I can't, I wouldn't buy something personally like this, so it's hard for me to buy it for the town.
A brand new machine, just like that, is about $170,000.
Understood,
And everything in that age, that model, an E-Series that I found on Machinery Trader today is running in the mid 60s
I was gonna say 60, 70 grand.
for a price range. If you look at all the pictures and looking at the backhoes that I've seen in the past and worked on in the past, and you can ask Keegan, the one that we used to use.
Woodard's is a
Woodard's.
lot worse condition.
Most everyone that I've ever seen is a lot rustier than that. The doors aren't, even our brand new grader has rust showing on it already. And it's just because they don't put a good primer coat under anything anymore. I'd like to have a place I could put it inside and touch the grader up, but I kind of don't. So
Do we know what this machine was used for, Murphy?
I don't, but if you look at some of the pictures, it almost looks like it's like National Grid or something like that. It's not a municipal, it's a surplus. New York surplus, which is, a private business of some kind. There's no phone number you can call,
Right.
to ask any questions on it. Usually on everything that I've looked at on Auctions International, which I've looked quite a lot, when you look under the details down toward the bottom, it gives you the conditions, body condition, mechanical condition, and they do explain if there's, major rust or major, mechanical issues. And in this, everything, looks pretty decent. I understand it.
And I know
It's
you'd
an-
be able to fix things too, I know you, I
And,
understand
and
that.
the reason why I know it's old, but
Wow.
your emission, you don't have the emissions that the newer machines have. Like the whacker went into limp mode 2 weeks ago, 2.5 weeks ago, down on River Road. We had to bring it home on a trailer, and I had to wait for the dealer to come and work on it to get it out of limp mode. And it was all because of the after treatment system, they call it, and that's the exhaust filter. This machine doesn't have that because it was built before the government said you had to put all these.
Well, I
emissions
understand the
standards
convenience,
on.
you're basically making an argument for getting it because it will pollute more. I'm not sure I'm sympathetic with that.
Despite the fact that owning it would allow us to get a discount on a future machine that pollutes less, ironically. But in any case.
And
that's
yet,
not the
or we
plan
could
to go.
save this money
Yeah.
towards a future machine.
Absolutely. This is a marginal decision.
I find it to be so, if it's that similar to what we have, it's hard for me to justify purchasing it despite the additional flexibility, given the drawbacks that I see. I'm willing to be convinced, but that's my initial take.
My offhand thoughts are, I trust Mark's judgment. It does give us redundancy we don't currently have with at least 2 machines.
We've never had to have that redundancy before.
We have had that
We always
redundancy.
have.
We've always had that
It's
redundancy.
never been on one machine.
Mr.
Yeah.
Kelsey got rid of your rubber tire backup that you had.
Yeah, we had one very similar to this, a lot older, but
Yeah.
we had one
It's
very.
25 years older.
Yeah, quite a lot older.
And it
but
was old,
It worked.
you know,
But
but
I don't understand so similar in size. I can understand smaller or larger, but just having the different functionality, it's hard for me.
if I can add one thing to this that might help you, is in my thoughts of getting a different excavator with ARPA funds. I'm trying to find, right now, I'm looking at used rubber tired excavators that are the size of what the town of Sunderland has. Something that
Mhm.
is much better at replacing culverts, much better at digging,
Something bigger, something bigger.
bigger. Because what I have, if I cut trees down right now, I have a hard time getting the stumps out because the machine isn't big enough to dig them.
Is this the size we tended to have before? Or is it,
This is
well,
just-
no, what we have now, is it smaller or larger than what we've always had?
Small,
It's smaller.
smaller.
We moved
Quite a
to
bit
a
smaller.
smaller, more nimble lead.
It's
That was-
See,
quite,
that's the thing. In fact, I remember that the argument for buying this was that we needed something smaller that could get into spaces. So this is the kind of whiplash we have a lot, to me, with the highway department. Well, we need bigger. Oh, no, it's too big. We need smaller. Oh, no, it's too small. We need bigger. I don't appreciate that.
well, I wasn't here then.
I'm just saying, there's a
Yeah.
history of that, and I understand it's different perspectives, different situations, different chiefs, different views of what's needed. It just makes it very hard to feel that I have a grasp of the strategic capital plan for this department when I hear such different stories every time we have a change in personnel. Because I'm still here and I'm hearing different
This will
stories.
certainly put a monkey wrench in our future capital planning. I'd have to go in, amend our capital plan to be printed in the town report live tonight, if we decide to move forward on this, things like that.
I mean, I just brought it to your attention because I think it's a good,
Would you want to buy this and sell the one we have? Is that what you want to do?
I want to buy this to add to what I have.
In the long run, we should end up having 2 excavators and some excavator capabilities.
When we sold the Yanmar, I said, the small excavator on track, I said, I'd like to take that money at that time and put it into a loader backhoe that I'd have for backup.
And this is,
And this
how
is
much-
what,
How much money was that when we
I
sold
got
that?
40,000 for.
Okay, okay.
So this is what I meant about backup. But I mean, it doesn't matter to me. What's hard for me is at 10 o'clock at night, and that's exactly when it happened last year. The loader died in the sand pile and we had no way to load sand. The whacker is small enough that I can load a truck with that sand. I can load salt with it, and it's a major pain because you have to go in the salt shed to get a bucket of salt. I can load a sand truck with the whacker excavator that we have, but it would take me about 25 minutes.
And
to
then
load.
next half an hour.
And that's what, I
And
believe
they-
that old machine we also used for the salt.
Right. And it was, you always had that old Ford 555 for
Mhm.
backup
Mhm.
in case.
Yeah, that you could get running in a
Something
couple of
broke down.
hours if you needed to.
I mean, it's just, it was a thought. If you guys don't like it, it doesn't matter to me.
It
I
could-
mean, me personally, I've listened to Mark and his plans going forward and equipment that he'd like to see. This was on his radar when we got rid of the little excavator, something of this nature. Plus with what he has been talking about with Nick and I don't know if he talked with you, I know he talked with Todd about the bigger excavator and able to do more work. I think this puts him where was hoping to get to. The only thing we don't have after this is the roller that Nick is talking about, the state would like to see. The state would like to see
And I
us
think
have.
that's probably likely out anyway because of the setup of our grader and things like that.
Right, because it was gonna cost
Release
like
for this year.
35 grand just to get the brackets on.
Yeah.
So would you be aiming for eventually having this new machine and then a new bigger machine and sell the one that we currently have? That's where you're
That's
going
the idea.
over the next
As I understand.
couple of years.
The whacker was
That's the
bought
long
to
range.
complement the
Okay.
Yanmar
Up there.
almost.
Cause that's what I need. I need
The-
that
the-
long range
The
content.
excavator that I have right now, it works great for certain things. But there's a lot of things that need to be done that I wouldn't even attempt to do with it because it's not a heavy enough machine to do. Like today I worked down in the park on the walking trails. I'm cleaning the ditch and everything. It works great down in there because it's small, you can get in between the trees. But when you're working out on the roads, for me to I can put a culvert in half the time with a bigger machine than I can with this one. I can dig ditches, I can take down trees. I had Mark from Sunderland came and helped me take down some trees back in the summertime because I couldn't reach them with our machine.
But this is not that much bigger than the one you have.
No, this is more of the backup.
Yeah, this is the loader resiliency, which is a capability we wholly do not have. But yeah,
I mean, at this price, this is to me, and from what I've researched on auction, on Machinery Trader, is a good buy if you could buy it for, between $40,000 and $45,000. And it puts you, I know it's old, but it puts you before that emissions thing. I know it's putting dirty air in the air, but so does China. But I don't want to spend $175,000 for a backup machine.
Especially when the longer term plan is to use this for redundancy, sell the other too small excavator,
Yeah.
get a bigger one with ARPA funds, correct?
Yeah.
And then we're where we want to be after that.
With two, we would have two.
We'll have the two, but we'll have the two that we want, not
How
one
old,
in a small.
one-
how old is the one we have now?
2015.
the one matter here that I'm a little bit hesitant on is that because this is so last minute, it might be spending this substantial amount of money on this little notice with this little warning is a real matter that we need to consider. It would behoove the board to, having considered this, if we don't move forward with this, think about setting an authorization and making a plan or if we find a similar machine in the future. In any case, having a conversation about this and getting on the record and getting authorizations in place to be able to move on on something like this in a quick manner in the future with more appropriate warning and things like that.
The other ones that I've found that are kind of comparable that I've been looking at is at a dealer in Massachusetts. They're about the same age. They're about the same mid-30s, but they've got a lot more hours on them. They don't have the different functions that this one
The
has
attachments.
with the attachment.
Mhm.
That's why I saw it last week. I kept looking at it and then I asked Nick this morning about it, what his thoughts were and he said, well, we gotta have a meeting tonight. But,
Yeah.
it's all up to you guys.
And in a weird sort of way, I agree with you, but I think what this might do is take one step in a two-step process to get us where we should have been with the bad decision-making of the previous owner.
Well, I understand that.
He gave us what he wanted us to have, information-wise, and I don't think that's the case here at all.
And
Well,
in-
I understand that, but to me, it's older than the machine we have. It's a pig in a poke. I see the list of the details. There's no warranty. You have no inspection. You don't know anything about what you're buying. And as Nick says, we're doing this under time pressure. I don't think that's consistent with, the way that I would prefer to be spending money. I admit I understand the strategic context better. I appreciate that, but I'm not comfortable operating like this. I'm not comfortable buying something like that with no chance to inspect it. I just can't do this. I can't do that.
If that's fine,
Well, I tend to agree with Cynthia to a point, like you just said. But I think it's a steal.
we could also authorize a fairly low ball offer and hope that there aren't many people looking to snipe this and say, say not to exceed a bid of 40 and say, if we're gonna get this for what is a steal.
I'm surprised that it's staying this low.
I am
It's
too.
gonna end up, what is actually gonna happen is
This is
we'll say
$70,000
45, it's gonna
machine.
shoot up to 47 in the next hour.
If it is in fact as presented, which we have no way of knowing.
Correct.
The
I
only
mean,
way
the town government is not supposed to be nimble. This is not a nimble process on purpose.
If I could say something with Mark's expertise in fixing equipment, he can fix this. He can't fix that machine up there. A lot of those parts up there need to be a dealer to be fixed. This is something Mark can fix in-house. That's gonna be a lot cheaper and a lot easier to find parts for.
And the only way you're gonna buy a machine that has warranty on it, you're gonna add $50,000 to $75,000.
Yeah, pay six
Yeah,
figures. for it.
warranties aren't rational.
You don't even have inspection. You don't even know if it actually starts. What if it doesn't start? I mean, it's just like, you can't do that.
Can you go back to the details?
It says it did.
Yes, it does say it does, but you're buying it as is. You have this doesn't mean anything.
It's just like the two pieces that we sold.
That's right, but we were selling them, not buying them.
I understand that, but somebody had to buy them and you had to hope that somebody would bid on it.
I will note, service records are available. That is at least reassuring that they're keeping service records and having it serviced.
yeah, I noticed that.
You know,
It's a close call, but somebody make a motion and then we'll deal with it. The motion should be, correct me if I'm wrong, it should be in the affirmative,
Motion, yeah,
and then we vote it down if we decide we don't want to
it
do
would be a
that.
motion to authorize
Motion to authorize.
the bidding of a bid not to exceed for a total spend of that plus 10%.
I guess that's part of the discussion we should have for the motion, right?
Yeah, we can discuss it in,
Well, that's
Yeah,
gotta
once
be
the
part of
motion's
the
on the
motion. I mean, what do we,
what is the number 10% above the
So
current bid?
10% above the bid. So say a 45,000 would
Not
be
to exceed.
45, that would be 49.5, so it would be a not to exceed total amount of 50,000.
We talked this morning 45,000 because
Yeah,
we
it's
just
gonna
thought
go
the
up.
bidding was gonna go stupid in the last few
The
hours,
bid-
because that's what a lot of times what it does.
It will on machine. When we sold the machine, that's what happened. So it would be,
I'm sure there's people doing what we're doing, watching the same thing click down. They're just waiting.
The fact that the bid hasn't changed in the time that we've had this
40 minutes.
conversation, like 20, actually, let me see if I can refresh the page.
Go to bid history, it'll tell you exactly when the last time it was bid on.
Right there, Nick.
No, down.
Oh, sorry.
5 o'clock, quarter after.
See if I can get to my.
It said 38.8. So it said,
Yep,
That's
hasn't had a bid. Okay,
2.5 hours, something like that.
I mean, I really do think it's a
I mean,
steal.
if you guys
I
are,
honestly do think it's a steal of a piece of equipment going in the right direction of having a little bit of redundancy with the loader.
a set of forks that we don't
The
have.
forks, like you said, are 65, 7 grand.
Yeah, they're $6,000.
The brush, I mean, it seems almost too good to be true, but I understand completely what you're saying, Cynthia, I really do.
Somebody make a motion and we'll address the pros and cons and under discussion and then vote on it.
I'll make the motion to place a bid not to exceed purchase price of 42,000 plus the 10%.
I second.
Motion's made by Jamie and seconded by Glenn to put a not to exceed of 42,000 plus the 10% fee. Discussion. I'd say just go around the table, start with you, Glenn, and what you see is a good,
Well,
what you
like,
see is bad.
well, the bad is that we haven't seen it with their own eyes. They haven't put, and being so close, it's kind of too bad too, you know what I mean? But,
I wish I hopped in the truck last week and went and looked at it.
it seems like it's in good shape to me. I mean, I've been around machines for a long time and I know, like you're saying, Cynthia, there's a little bit of rust here and there, but that is that's a little bit of diamond in the rough there on a 2006. To me, it just seems too good to be true, but like I said, I agree with Cynthia.
And we don't know what they'll take for it. I mean, they may.
They might cancel the whole
They may,
thing.
yeah, they may not even.
Your thoughts, Jamie? Pros and cons?
Well, I like the redundancy part. I know in the past, I've used the old Ford that used to be up there at the school several times while the town was out using their big loader and stuff. So I understand that. The additional equipment that comes with this, with the forks and the brush. I mean, the brush that we've got does not do a huge, great job. That I think would be very handy on the roads, cleaning up intersections, things like that. I got a 2015 Ford truck at the school that's got rust all over it and I have it undercoated every year. So on a construction vehicle with a little bit of rust like that, I personally don't see that as a problem. When I look at our own equipment that we have up here that's newer, that's got rust all over it.
I've already said
You
my
okay?
piece.
Yeah. I tend to think it's a good deal. I understand the concern of the haste.
Yeah, I do too.
I don't think we're
It's a
gonna
tough
find a
one.
better deal,
I don't either.
but we may be outbid too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But the process of getting this pre-approved ahead of time and going and seeing the next best offer, I think that's an offshoot of this discussion for sure. But I do understand your short-term and long-term plan and why, and I agree with it. Because we were there, then we weren't, and now we're heading back there.
And
We wouldn't move anything else
you-
imminently,
you-
right? We were not trying to sell
since
anything.
we sold the Yanmar, I have looked at, I'll bet 150 of these machines, online.
Mhm.
And this by far is probably the best piece I've seen for this kind of money. And knowing I only had $40,000 out of the Yanmar.
Yeah.
I wasn't looking for something that was a 2015 or 2018 because I knew it was way out of my ballpark. Money.
I also like the fact, I think it's in pretty good shape for the year and the hours. I also like the idea that you can work on it and not necessarily have to have somebody come in and be dependent on their schedule. That makes a huge difference.
Took me,
When we're talking about redundancy of our equipment.
it took me a week and a half to get the guy up here to Springfield, Mass to work on the
Took you a
whacker.
week?
Week and a half to get
We
it.
can,
So where is the 45,000 that you guys are planning to spend on this?
Your, backhoe loader,
Okay,
so,
after that's spent, what's gonna be in that line?
60 some odd $1,000. It was,
He said there was 100 in there.
yeah, so after this transaction, it'll be,
And 40 of that was the Yanmar.
Yeah.
Sale.
so.
so 40 of this,
Yeah, so there's 100,
It's the
From the
purchase,
previous
it's what,
action.
right, it's the sale of the,
104,810 and change is the current
Balance.
year-end
in that
sinking fund.
fund, okay.
and to me, I wouldn't, if that bid stays right where it's at till 20 minutes say left, I wouldn't go to 42,000, I'd go 40.
Well, you put your max in and it only goes up by 100 above the last bid.
Okay, all right, now I
Is
understand.
that how that works? in the
Okay.
assessment? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bid increment of $100, so you may cap out at 42, but
Somebody
if
else
somebody
might.
else goes above that,
Somebody else may already have bid higher than that.
they may have
We can't see it.
50,000 on
Yeah.
that. We don't,
Yeah.
We don't
well,
know.
Right.
that's probably the highest,
That's probably the highest bid.
the
right
highest
now.
bidder right now is that guy right there. So
We'll know before the end of the meeting.
And he
if-
knows.
if More likely than not, if we got it.
he could be
So,
at 50, he could be at 65, who knows?
Who knows?
That may
I
be
think
his
the
top
guys
10.
that are bidding on it are purchasing to resell.
Could be.
And
So they're trying to keep their margins up.
they're gonna wanna try and keep their margin down so that they can make a little money on it, selling it. And like I said, most 420Es that I found today online were running mid-60s. The
Any
problem with
other-
these auctions too is they're usually only 2-week auctions.
Right.
So if we don't hit it just right in the meeting thing, with the select board meeting, I wasn't even gonna probably bring it up, but I showed it to Nick this morning and he said, well, there's a meeting tonight.
I get,
Yeah,
we had the option. The board has the power to jump on a deal like this if it wants. But there's absolute cases on both sides of this. And,
It seems to be a split kind of right down the middle as far as the choices, but I do understand your short and long-term plan. And this more fits the way we should be operating than the way we've been operating for the last, 3 years? 4 years, maybe. Because we haven't had that redundancy, and that is important. So is there any other discussion? If not, I'm gonna call the question. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Jamie, did you? Yeah, aye. I'm gonna say aye as well, and that's a close call, believe me.
No,
No, okay. So 3-1, 1 absent.
okay, we will act on that. I will
Act on
log
it
in
and see, let us know by the end of the meeting what we
and
got.
Mark, if for whatever reason it's definitely from the computer, you know how to poke around with this.
Mhm.
Okay.
Just tell me when you're ready.
Okay, I'm placing the bid right now on your highest bid of 42,000. Okay, I guess I guess this is all for naught because they want us to have made other prior arrangements with their office at a bit of that price. So,
Okay,
okay,
so then we do that.
but we will make arrangements for that and.
Making sure we have
For the
money,
next-
you know,
for the
something
next-
like that, yeah.
That's
We're gonna
exactly what-
pre-file in the
So
future.
I apologize for the half hour of.
I am,
That's
You're
what.
like-
That's all right, I now understand your
It was a
strategic
discussion.
plan, that's a good thing, you know, it's
we
like.
have a capital plan up tonight, so this is something that at least we can build in. So. No, I'm sorry, I'm sorry for not checking this thoroughly, and getting this pre-filed today. But in any case, let's,
All right, so the next item on the new business is village center designation renewal. And there's a letter here, we really just need the motion to authorize either Nick or myself to sign it.
yeah, sign and submit. It is,
It's just a renewal of a previous.
yes, the two designated village centers that unlock all kinds of various money. The wastewater project is tied up in this and is 100% contingent on us doing this very task.
So, and who is supposed to sign it?
The full, the board needs to approve the resolution in the first line of the letter, or approve the letter as presented.
Okay, I make a motion that the town of Arlington Select Board hereby resolves to authorize the renewal application for Arlington and East Arlington designated village centers, and authorizes the chair or the town administrator to sign that application as appropriate. If we all have to sign.
Cynthia made a motion, is there a second?
Sorry.
Seconded by Glenn to, renew the, village designations for Arlington and East Arlington. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. I'll let you sign that.
Perfect, thank you. Much appreciated.
All right,
Okay.
anything else under new business?
No.
All right, old business. We have the, final draft on the table and in your packets, I believe, for the, warning, under the new format that we agreed on at the last meeting. So there's,
The second article for the surplus disposal. So that bumped it up to the 40 articles from 39.
yep,
That's the article 9 to 10, both floating between the two. And yeah,
In Article 8, there was something that seemed to be awkward in that phrasing. Vote by ballot if the voters authorize the elimination of the office of town lister and hire. I mean, what, and also authorize the, I don't know, there was something that struck me as kind of funny.
it reads funny. I copy pasted it from what it's supposed to be.
Okay. Okay,
It's, yeah, that comes straight from statute.
okay, all right, then the statute's awkward. Okay,
Statute's very awkward.
okay.
sense point is, there's never been an awkward statute.
Call the papers, I mean, you know, it's like, oh, okay,
There's
that's,
more awkward statutes than there are unawkward.
well, but lawyers have their own.
No, I
too,
noticed
right?
that
Yes.
Yeah.
that statute was particularly awkward when I was working on
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, that's fine. If that's what it needs to be, that's what it needs to be. That was what I noticed.
I
And
like
could you
the new
scroll,
format, I just
could you
don't
scroll
think
down a
everybody
little bit?
Understand it.
So
Updated
there we
the
are
fire truck
authorizing
number.
all the funding and then keep going.
Yep.
And then these are the social service. See that, I like that because it really
I do too.
demarcates
Yeah.
what we're doing. I like that.
Robin
And it's
did
gonna
such
be
a
like
great job
that
with this.
on the ballot?
Yes.
Yes. See, I think that's
On
gonna
the
help
ballot.
people.
It'll
Yeah.
be much
Yeah.
more abbreviated. It's kind of a, happy medium
Yeah.
between what we were doing
Right.
and what. Don was
Semi-consolidated,
suggesting
that's
as
what
coming.
we, yeah,
Yeah.
so I think.
He wanted to just make it a single number.
Right, and you
No,
can't do that,
can't do
yeah,
that. So,
yeah, you got, there's trade-offs, efficiency and accountability, so.
so if there's any other question on that, if there's not, I'll entertain a motion to approve it as presented.
What would I call it, the town meeting
Town
report
warning
warning?
for 2024, right?
I make a motion to approve the town meeting report warning as presented.
Second.
And that's the March 4th, 2024 meeting.
Correct.
And by Cynthia and second by Glenda, was that correct?
Yes.
To approve the, final draft of the meeting warning for March 4th. For all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? One absent. Can you get a hold of Todd to have him come in? and
Yeah, I
sign?
will make sure that that is the case.
I'm just gonna pass it around and let everybody sign it while we're right here. Okay. Okay, the next item under old business is the budget discussion. And you made a few minor changes. Do you want to go over those?
Literally, I just added the, agreed $1,000 to the park maintenance line. And cleaned up a little bit of formatting and importantly, I updated the actuals. So that those are correct, based on the final year-end numbers. The actuals for cash on hand, which was reconciled by Jenna. So that is a number that has been through our auditor.
So does she have a report?
She was not able to produce a secondary report. The report was the reconciliation.
I haven't seen the reconciliation. I haven't seen anything.
Every board member got that information in their email from Tiffany in a couple of emails last week. It has everything in it.
Okay, she is probably sending it to the email that I cannot get.
Okay.
So I have not seen that. I have not seen anything from Jenna. That's the whole problem here.
Okay, Jenna has also been sick and not been able to do further work for us meaningfully. I want to be very clear that this is not the number that came out of her work, and she was rather she didn't really understand what she was being asked to do as a secondary report beyond the task that is reconciling everything and making sure that number, that cash on hand at the end of the year, is 100% correct. And has all of the relevant corrections that are reflected in those actual lines all the way down to the bottom of the sheet, the 600 some odd lines. So she's reviewed them.
Jenna
has not this document, like the budget document, but the reconciliations that produce those numbers. So that is, and then Mr. McClafferty has spent looked at this budget sheet, and I discussed that with him last week extensively, and he gave some good feedback on formatting in the end, but did not find any meaningful errors in the sheet as well. So it's had multiple eyes on it. It's had more eyes on it than any year that this budget sheet has had eyes on it. But certainly, I'm as confident as I've ever been, much more confident almost, or not even almost. I am much more confident this year in all of these numbers than we have been in any other previous year. So tonight is not the formal budget deadline. If we'd like to have a special meeting of some sort to finalize the budget at some point in the next week or so, that is an option. We can do so after our water meeting next week if relevant.
I would request that we do so simply because Todd's not here to join in the discussion, and I would want everybody on the board to be here, given the situation.
Yeah.
Yes, Cynthia.
So, with the cash on hand and all the things that are in the budget so far, the property tax figure right above in yellow, it says the property tax would go down by 16%.
Correct.
So I don't know how that translates into cents or points on the property tax, that we have. I'm trying to call to mind exactly where we ended up.
A point is about 5%, so it's about 3 points.
Okay. And so, but we have not done the wage situation yet.
Yes, we need to have that conversation.
And we
executive
haven't,
session.
and we also were talking about, were we going to, does this minus 16% incorporate all the capital reserve fund
This
increases
is a
that were on
worst
the
case
warrant?
scenario that includes all CRS and the extra CRF savings articles.
If they all passed,
If they all pass,
that's where we are.
if any of them fail, it is a tax decrease of more.
Okay, and so the only thing remaining, so it includes all the CRF articles. The only thing remaining is the question of compensation changes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Does that include the bump up in the fire truck sinking?
Yes, it is. It incorporates absolutely everything. It incorporates that the shares of Sunderland and Sandgate that go out,
And the capital plan.
all the,
note is in your
it jives
packets.
with the capital plan. The capital plan is in line with all the sinking fund numbers for this year.
Okay,
So everything is in order. You know, my economist self is as confident as we can be in this, that this is accurately reflecting everything that we need to reflect.
Okay, and tell me again what this change in the property cent translates to. 16% was it 5%, 4%? 4 cents? What did you say it
That's
was?
about between 3 and 4 cents.
3 and 4
It should be
cents.
about between 3
decrease.
decrease. So that's that. We can have, so unless there are any other thoughts on this, any edits that we need to make, that any spending that we've decided is suddenly urgent that we need to incorporate, or any comment from members of the public on this. This,
any thoughts from anyone?
but otherwise we can just vote to table this to a special meeting to be warned for after the regular water meeting at the, a week from today. The regular water meeting should not be a very long water meeting.
Monday.
Or we could do it on a Tuesday or something like that.
That's next Monday, correct?
That would be next Monday.
So is that, was that the 30th, 29th,
Yeah.
29.
29th?
That gives us just enough time to get it finalized in time for us to get the town reports out to the
So do you
voters.
want to wait and do the compensation discussion then? What do you want?
Let's do the compensation discussion in an executive session. I think we want to discuss a couple of options on personnel matters before we go and make final calls on this.
Then we can make the final calls at that time.
Okay.
Yes, and if you need me to produce numbers right now, I'm not really in a position to produce all the numbers on the fly and be super confident in them, knowing the changes proposed to a couple of the other offices that I think we're in a position of thinking about more one-off changes to individual numbers in this rather than pure across the board numbers.
Okay.
But that's something that we can have a conversation about in the executive session and then come back out and with mandate to edit this as appropriate. But yeah, my
So I
suggestion,
will make a motion to delay the decision tonight until a special meeting after the water board meeting next Monday, January 29th.
we'll say between 8 and 8:30 PM. That will keep the water meeting to between 7 and 8 PM.
That works.
Second,
Motion made by Jamie and seconded by Cynthia to table the discussion on the budget until a special meeting a week from tonight between
8
8
and
and
8:30.
8:30. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, next up, we have some town report items, but first we have printing. So I circulated a memorandum on that. And I will pull it up and share that right now.
Did you see that?
Okay. Not a very competitive, couple of bids, but, certainly we had a really good experience with Express Copy last year. And the prices very modestly changed from last year.
And the only competitive bid, quote unquote, is Staples, about
Yeah.
3 times the price, not quite.
But we eliminated another vendor because we weren't confident that they were gonna be able to deliver on the short term time span for this.
Who was that?
Continuously had this kind of problem this time of year. This isn't the kind of business that support their business. But
You'll not have any problem with Express Copy.
Express Copy
I've used
is-
them for years.
it has been very successful, or was very successful for us last year.
Yep.
And is certainly the clerk's preferred, vendor. So, you just need a motion.
So we need a motion to, award this to, I see no reason not to go to Express Copy, just for no other reason than the price.
I make a motion to award the town report printing contract to Express Copy of Manchester, Vermont, for an amount, please move that.
Sorry,
Price not to
For,
exceed.
I know, but I
Oh,
couldn't see it,
sorry.
$2,562.
or no.
Oh,
We
oh,
have it
combined
about
price, okay.
2,700. That'll just give us some buffer in case we get.
Okay,
the report.
for a price not to exceed 2,700. Okay, I get it. I'm sorry, I didn't
No,
understand.
no,
what you
sorry
meant.
about
He
that.
had it bolded.
Yep, I
Sorry,
didn't,
tried
and I was
catch
trying
it.
to see behind it, you know,
No,
so
no,
it's like.
Um,
So the motion was made by Cynthia, is there a second? Second by Jamie to, award the printing to Express Copy in Manchester. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. You wanna pull up the select board report?
Yes, I will pull up the select board for. Okay,
And I think you put in extrication, didn't you?
yeah, I have
Yes.
got that correct.
I don't know where extraction came from.
And
You got pulled out somewhere.
I don't know, yeah, I extracted it from
worked.
somewhere, yeah.
In our business, it's extrication.
No,
equipment.
no, much better, much better.
Absolutely. So, yeah. Cynthia, I think you did an awesome job on this. Thank you for
Yeah.
Well,
the
your
Yeah,
comments,
yeah.
your comments were essential. Nick really helped a lot. It's a tag team, both of us doing it. You know, and I think that, when we're at the meeting, we can sort of have more information behind each of these things to fill in when people have questions, but you can't put everything
No.
in the report, so,
The one thing I hear all the time is Benedict Crossing Bridge.
yep.
Glad we
Yeah.
we were able to get an update into this.
And, the playground renovations at the park are next up, isn't that correct?
Yes,
Okay.
they are next up. Being finalized. But
Okay.
But yeah, I think we have the grant, or we have the gift funding ready
Right.
to go.
And the
So,
only thing one thing that I thought might confuse people a little bit is that in the water department paragraph, I specifically say, remember, this is funded by
Yeah.
ratepayers, but then in the ARPA section, I talk about using federal funds for the water department. And if somebody asks about that, we can say the federal funds are not the property tax, and so they can be
Correct.
used. So, but I just wanted to highlight that as a place where I would think any ordinary person might get confused. So I didn't try to fix it here, but it's just something to be
I think
aware
we're
of.
all prepared to explain that if anyone
Yeah.
wants to be in that, the minutia of the governance structure of these two things. But I think giving a call out to this was helpful. That makes clear. We're talking about this because this is an achievement that involves our government's administrative capacity. And we could have, done a report from the water department with our own hat on or something like that. But having a paragraph is a much more concise way to address that.
And we can have the stuff behind that, available, for people.
Absolutely.
So,
So,
The line in that paragraph says in order to, as a blue dotted line under it.
maybe
Is
it
that
should just
because
be
it should
two.
all one word?
Maybe it should just be two.
I was thinking that also.
I don't know why it's flagging it, but just.
Two.
put it-
yeah,
Yeah.
That it's
it's just,
necessary too. I will always use more words than necessary. You know that. The problem is to stop me from writing,
Well, I
so.
was thinking in my mind, is in order to one word? Maybe that's why it's calling it.
No, it was just calling out.
Yeah.
But hey, one time somebody told Mozart he had too many notes,
That's
so
right.
I'm just right there with Mozart.
John's, other question.
Hey, guys.
Yes,
So we have instituted procedures that will prevent an error in the future, like what?
We updated our, or we confirmed the process of our internal controls, and we confirmed that the tax rate will run through multiple extra sets of eyes, in the future. That is also certainly subject to, we made that plan, assuming the current structure of government stays the same. We can guarantee that in the event the structure of government articles change the reporting capacity that will then allow us to require the accountability from the treasurer and the accountant that are involved in that as well.
But you can see it in just our discussion of the budget.
Oh, yeah, I
because
know, I'm
last-
just getting you ready
I know,
for,
but last year,
for the,
but
the
last year, the
inevitable.
cash on hand, we just took, okay, the cash on hand, but this year, Jenna looked at the reconciliation and went over what the treasurer had done and verified it. So the treasurer did it, Nick has looked at it, Jenna has looked at it, Jenna is our auditor, so I'm taking it.
Yeah.
We did not have that check.
Suggestion, at the town meeting, are you gonna have something that you could use for presentation? A slide?
Prior to the town
Yeah,
meeting.
I'm just saying, you got people there,
We're gonna do.
if you put that up on the wall, it could, or, you know, some type of little bulleted thing.
Yeah, I'll have a
It'll
PowerPoint
save a
presentation.
lot.
for-
You've done that.
I do have a PowerPoint
in-
presentation.
We
other
you do it
years.
every.
Yeah.
I'll pretty it up and make it look more like Todd's this year.
Todd
But
and I are going to sort of tag team that and with Nick's assistance, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're gonna not way ahead of you, but we're ahead of you on that part of it.
we've been thinking about this for
We
6 months.
have been, yes, it's August. Because Todd and my first reaction was, there's gotta be a mistake. Gotta be a mistake. That was just.
Yeah. And I'm glad
Can't be
we're,
that far.
I'm glad we're referencing it here to, without putting it right at the top, making it, so this is the biggest thing we did this year. No, we did all kinds of things this year, and addressing this error and working on our accounting practices was definitely a big part of it, getting. to
But I know
the
that,
audits.
I know that we're coming back for the budget next Monday, but I do want to point out that, if what we have now is the property tax rate dropping by 4 cents, and we haven't done the compensation increase, and the CLA is even worse
Yeah,
than
it
it
doesn't
was
affect
last
the
year.
budget, though. That only affects the.
It affects the tax rate that is set.
Right, it affects the tax rate that includes the school. But for us, which is our budget, we're not speaking about anything with the school, which which the CLA does not directly affect. The CLA does affect
Does the
that,
CLA affects our property tax rate?
oh, it certainly does.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about.
But
So I
indirectly.
don't think, I'm just saying that if you look at this, we don't have as much leeway as you guys seem to think we have.
No, that we certainly, given, we know this is all one-time money, and that's why we have to be extremely judicious.
There's no.
But the
There's
CLA
not
does
gonna
not
be-
affect our tax rate for any reason.
Yes, it did.
It directs.
It did.
Affects the school rate.
No, it affected the property tax value, the grand list value that we multiplied by.
Correct. It affects the base grand list value, which is a reflection of the overall assessment quality.
And
And
it's gonna be worse.
it has not changed.
Yes, it has. It was 85, it's 80. It's gonna be worse. Excuse me, I have to copy this.
Well, I have no further comments on this report.
On the select board report. I think it's good to go. Capital plan, you wanna go over that?
We're gonna need a motion to approve this,
Okay,
but
let's wait till she
Yeah,
comes back in
and-
to do that. Or we can make the motion and wait until she comes in.
yeah,
with
that's
all that.
perfectly fine.
If you guys
It
want to
should
do
be-
that, that's
That
fine.
copier is on, it should be quick.
I make a motion to approve the select board report as presented.
Is there a second? Second. Motion made by, Glenn and seconded by Jamie to approve the select board report as presented with our thanks to Nick and Cynthia. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Capital plan, you're gonna put that up?
Plan.
Oh, it's been on the floor.
Plan.
Put it there.
Okay. So, capital plan is very similar to last year, move everything up. A couple of tweaks were editing in the net number into CRF bridges for the Benedict Crossing Bridge study. That's the town share supposing the project gets completely done this calendar year, which it will. That'll be our total cost share of the project. And so that is one thing of note. Fire trucks have the base number incorporated adjustment. So I've adjusted the base into the future to account for the cost of fire trucks. It continues to be sustainable. And adding this extra 5 years of higher sinking fund level does materially create a better overall degree of financial liquidity over the next 15 budget years, which will also reflect well in the 40-year extra long run when I incorporate that into the longer sheets than we present in the town report. So, but yeah, it's a pretty straightforward thing. Same thing we do every year. It will be a pain to print as always, but my plan is to upload this to the website in advance of town meeting and put a link to that, a reference link to that prior to printing the town report. So that's something that I think will address some of this is way too small issues, because there's not a good way to print this into the town report in a way that is really legible, that gets at everything and covers all the years that we want to cover, which is we want to have a 15-year window that gives voters the assurance.
Centerfold.
We're gonna need to have our
centerfold, huh?
We're gonna need to approve a lot larger of a number to
More
express
people
copy.
would like get the town report.
Oh, yeah,
you
they
know,
get
it's
the
like,
sound report thinking.
Miss dump truck of the year or something.
Well, before we
Okay, so I can say
engage
that,
in
right?
anything illegal, do we want to have a motion to approve this capital plan as presented?
Okay, I'm having a couple.
Yeah,
Maybe I need to go home. We said in our town report that we just approved, that we thought given the level of cash on hand, we would be able to cover the increases in CRF saving and still reduce property taxes. Now, we don't yet know what compensation is gonna be. I'm very concerned that that's actually not true, because if the current budget, including the increases here, gives us only 4 cents down, and we haven't done compensation yet, and the CLA is further against us, I don't see how we are necessarily going to be able to lower property tax rates. Now, I understand we never know what property tax rates are really gonna be until we see all the stuff in July. But I'm very concerned that I'm concerned that the warning, I'm having second thoughts about the warning about the CRF funding, because I really don't know where the budget is right now. I don't know what compensation is, and I want to allow for this. This is not our fault. It's not under our control, but we can't tell people, yes, we're going to be lowering the municipal property tax rate because we know it went up a lot last year, and then say, oh, never mind, the state screwed us again.
so the CLA worsening is not because of a shrinking in the overall grand list, the base.
I understand that.
But just because we've gotten further out of whack with assessments statewide.
Yes.
Does not mean the base grand list on which we are basing all of these numbers has decreased. If that number had decreased and say our capital stock declined faster and say instead of it being a $321 million grand list, it became a $310 million grand list, that would be a different story. But just because we have grown further out of line with assessments statewide does not mean that our total capital stock of the stock of all buildings in town, the grand list, has materially decreased. It's just that
No,
we've
it's
gotten
just that
worse.
it's just that what we multiply the property tax rate by is modified by this. It's a smaller number.
It's not.
Yeah, that is
not how
my
this works.
understanding.
That is not how this works.
That was
for
the
you.
explanation I got from you and from Robin last summer. So I'm seriously confused, but I need to be convinced that what we just put in the town report is actually
Okay,
true,
I-
because I'm not seeing it.
I
in the
don't
numbers.
have the ability to say anything that's going to convince you any further. I don't think
I don't see
know-
how, I don't see how a 4% decrease in the rate, putting this aside, allows us to increase compensation and then, and cover.
Okay, I will lay on the table before we go into an executive session. I'm not proposing an increase in compensation in any meaningful way.
Okay,
And
well,
but-
that's
but-
something
but
that we're gonna
something
discuss
that
as a
we'll discuss
board.
then.
We're gonna discuss
But
that
in
as a
any
board,
case-
but I just wanna make sure that what we just approved in that report is true.
I do not see how going into the year with $330,000 in cash on hand.
430.
430, and then, but operating on 330, assuming those two articles pass, is what I will.
Okay, now see, that I did not understand.
Yeah.
So the 430 was before those two articles
Yes,
passed.
they become
Okay, didn't understand that.
330 return to taxpayers, less the total change in total costs of the government, and which is an increase in, let me pull that up.
Okay, well, we can come back, we can
Yeah.
come back to this next
Yeah.
Monday. I just want to say that depending on what we do, we might have to modify the letter we just approved, or we might have to modify the capital reserve funding. That's
And-
all I'm saying.
And
When does it have to be?
so the capital reserve funding, and the warning is set, the warning must be approved tonight. That is our deadline of tonight.
Okay.
The town report segment, different. The budget, different. Those both are on the deadline of needing to be in before the town report is printed. So that, I think we can have more conversations on how the CLA actually affects us, but the fact that we are under assessed does not mean our ability to raise taxes is impinged, or necessarily mean
Yes, it
that.
does.
I understand where you're coming from on that, but what I'm saying is, I'm speaking to the total capital stock of the town, that $321 million. And that the fact that $321 million is stable is what is regardless of whether our relative assessment to the rest of the state is out of whack, and regardless of whether we need to reappraise this year and then raise the base, so it's that plus 20% or so, and then have a decline next year in base rates of about 20% if we're at 100% CLA from these levels. So it is likely that under the current scenario, we would be in for a one-time tax decrease powered by all the things that we talked about before that created the surplus, the giant pile of uncollected taxes that was collected this year primarily. And then next year, due to a reappraisal, raising the base, so the total amount that people will be paying will remain the same next year, but the actual rates will be reflected in lower amounts. But this year is an actual real cash, less money out of your pocket, regardless of what your appraisal on your house is. If I can, but I am not an expert on the CLA. The CLA is mostly a school thing where the expertise is with people who are involved in the school budgeting, because it directly does affect the school levies, whereas it only indirectly affects and reflects the accuracy of the appraisals in the town for town levies. But I'm happy to discuss that on an individual basis.
Okay,
at
but
this
what are
meeting.
you thinking? Because when we analyzed the situation, we estimated that, the errors in the calculation, whether the scenario that you and Jenna and I came up with was correct or not, the errors in the calculation in the previous 2 years may have added like 5 cents
Right.
to the property tax rate. And we had an overall, I think it was 14 cents.
14.7.
So, I would like to give them 5 cents back, and I'm not seeing that right now.
There can't be 5 cents meaningfully back, in part because the structural issues that underlie the government that include the overall spending level have not meaningfully changed. And some of this is spreading the political shock of swift changes in rates over the course of time. That's why you offer these ballot articles when you have extra
Okay,
surplus.
so now I have to reconsider the vote on the warning. I can't do the increases in the sinking funds because, I think they should be smaller and, I mean, I'm just one vote, so it should go forward, but I think that it would have been better to be voting on the sinking funds and the warning after we had a complete budget discussion, and we did not do that.
I did what I could. We moved the budget discussion to December. We started this early. We have a giant pile of cash on hand, but I still think that this is rooted in your misunderstanding of how the CLA actually affects things. And I think that's something that we can work on getting. You
But
that knowledge.
that would be very good. That would be very good if I could get better knowledge and better understanding, but you yourself just said we can't give them back what we had to raise in our estimation, and I think that's very unfortunate. And I think if we modified the savings, we could. So that's where I
And it would
am.
change that on a one-year basis, but then it would be have us raising taxes and that extra same amount in the future. And that's perfectly fine, but that's certainly an opportunity that with a large pile of one-time cash that will serve to increase the variance between this year's budget and next year's budget. So then next year, when people are staring at a 20% tax increase, because we decreased taxes 16% this year because of one-off money that was mostly attributed to uncollected delinquent taxes, and along with random one-off surpluses from a good winter, this is how we get here. And I see it as more politically viable to engage in this kind of savings when you have these flush years that are unexpected, to allow for a smoothing of the long-term tax rates that makes it easier for people. And we're not going to have a surplus like this probably ever again. It will be a very surprising thing if we ever rack up $400,000 in delinquent taxes. So.
Okay, well, that's useful. I'll let things go on. I'll try to work on this and see where I can get.
Okay. Did we vote on the capital plan? I'm not sure if we ever actually voted that.
I think we did.
Okay, we
I think we did. yes.
Okay, good. Okay. So we'll go into the executive session after we address two quick highway things.
Okay,
So we have mileage certification.
yep.
Um,
Got that right.
Annual document, boilerplate document. Conveniently, our mileage has not changed whatsoever since last year, so we just need a motion to approve.
We
the
haven't
mileage
added or
certification.
thrown up any roads.
Yeah, lots of zeros on that document.
Do we all have to sign?
Yes, we all,
Yeah, just make a
everyone needs to sign the bond.
So I have a motion to approve of it.
Correct.
I make a motion to approve the certificate of highway mileage for the year ending February 10th, 2024 as presented.
Is there a second?
Let's see it first.
Okay. Motion been made by Cynthia and seconded by Glenn to approve the road mileage certificate to the state. Discussion. Take your time.
Mostly this is in the future, if we go to add or discontinue a road, this is where we submit our paperwork and that will adjust our overall annual highway aid.
The highway is based on
So-
that mileage for the two different classes.
Correct.
Class 2 and class 3.
And it's also where they keep records of the class 4s and other fun things.
Unmaintained.
I think we'll
trails,
have some
et cetera.
action on this in the next 2 years. But this will certainly be, this is the same as every year we've done so far. We've not added mileage or subtracted mileage in 3 or 4 years at least.
All those in favor of the motion signify by saying
Aye.
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 aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, is there anything under,
So we have one quick, we need to retain the attorney for the sidewalk project.
gotcha.
So there was a memo in your packet on that. Quickly, but
Yeah, if you could put up there, because I don't
yeah,
have it right in
I'll
front
pull
of
it
me.
up. far too many. There we go. Okay, so just looking for a motion to retain the firm for Blake for the purpose of conflict counsel sidewalk project at the presented rates. This is an attorney that I've located that is a town attorney in Rutland County, who is the most able conflict counsel that we can have for the sidewalk project, knowing that our attorney is conflicted.
I make a motion to authorize retention of Cupfer and Blank LTD at the rate of $165 an hour for the attorney, $100 an hour for the paralegal, $150 an hour for research for the purposes of the sidewalk on Route 7A.
There's a second.
Second.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Jamie to approve the retention. Is that the right word?
Yes, that's
For the firm in Rutland? I can't say the name off the top of my head, but for the right of way motion and
Sidewalk.
for the Route 70 sidewalk. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Yeah. Any opposed? Motion carries.
I'll just do a quick 10-second overview of the TA report. It was a very busy week on budget, all this other delightful stuff. We're preparing for the phone transition with Granite tomorrow morning, so I'll be in here hooking up all the new phones in the morning first thing. So we'll, I attended the BCRC meeting. There's a lot of fun things happening in Shasbury, and I got to meet some of the some people involved in that last week. We've had legal matters ongoing. We've had highway matters ongoing with snow and things like that. Mark has done a great job with the winter maintenance. In a fun, if we can call it that, plow period. So any questions on that? That's a good question.
Depends on your definition of fun.
Weather whiplash.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we are headed into an executive session, personnel,
Do you
legal.
want to do the?
Yeah, let's do the warrants before we do this.
That one is just order number.
That's the base, this is the water.
I make a motion to authorize check warrant report number WD2 dated 1/19/24 being the operating invoices for the water department. Key components, largest components are from Green Mountain Power and Blue Cross Blue Shield premiums. I make a motion to approve the total $2,939.86.
Is there a second? Second. Motion made to approve check warrant report WD2 for the water department and the total amount $2,939.86. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
I make a motion to approve check warrant report number 2 dated 1/19/24 being the invoices for the town general fund, general operating account. Key components are, again, Blue Cross Blue Shield premiums for $7,700 something. Bennington County Regional Commission dues, $4,200 something. The Deer Credit Incorporated, the greater release payment is $16,800. The Sourcey Emergency Products Fire Department Maintenance, $5,200. And RHR Smith and Company, the audit work that we had, $7,900. So I make a motion to approve payment of the warrant for a total of $62,709.40.
Second.
Motion's been made and second by Cynthia and second by Jamie to approve check warrant report number 2 total amount of $62,709.40. All those in favor signify by saying
Uh,
aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Is there any other business to be brought before the board in open session?
I have none.
Okay. So we need to have a motion to establish the reason for executive session as a legal matter and personal.
I make a motion that premature discussion of a legal and personnel issue would cause the municipality to suffer substantial disadvantage.
Is there a second?
Second.
Motion is made by Cynthia and seconded by Jamie to establish the reason for the executive session as a legal and personnel matter. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Now,
I make a further motion to enter into executive session for discussion of said legal and personnel issues and to allow town administrator Nick Zias to remain in the room.
Motion made by Cynthia and seconded by Glenn to enter into executive session for said legal and personnel matter and to allow town administrator Zias to remain in the room. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 We will not have anything to report. It'll just be non-binding things.
Recording stopped.
Unmuted, we just need a motion to adjourn.
Family got, so moved. Motion to adjourn. Second.
Recording in progress.
Good night.